Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to this webinar, Finding the DCU Computing Right course for you. I'm Dr. Michael Scriney. I'm an assistant professor here in the School of Computing in DCU, and I'm here with Shane Whelan, one of our recently finished students, final year student. Would have finished now just maybe a little over a month ago now, I think.
Yeah, just about that.
Yeah. Yes. So together then we just kind of want to run through what the DCU experience is like and the different courses that we offer in the School of Computing and hopefully help you make a more informed decision about which would be right for you. So in broad sense though, first, like why do you want to study computing? Why do we like to do it? And there's many different reasons, there's many different draws for people. Um, one of the obvious ones is generally the careers they're more higher paid than other people at the same level of their career. The ability for remote work is very, very high in computing. We're very technically focused and technically minded. Um, Computing actually offers like a lot of transversal skills as well. So these are skills that could be applied in other contexts. So even if you have a computing degree, you can actually kind of apply the skills that you learn in problem solving and your general technical know-how into other fields and other jobs. And then as well, like the reason why I got into computing anyway is the opportunities for creativity and innovation. Like the idea that if I come up with the idea for an app or a website or a game or something like that, because I have a background in computing, I'm equipped with the skills to just kind of go and make it and try it out and see how we get on. Um, so then specifically though, well, why would you want to study computing at DCU? One of the biggest draws is we're very, very industry focused as a university. Our programs then are designed with a lot of interaction from employers on what are the current trends, what are the new paradigms, and we really try to keep our content as fresh as possible to make sure that our graduates are going into the workforce with up-to-date skills. We have an incredibly high graduate employment rate across DCU. 96% of our graduates are in employment. And then as well, we have a global community with one third of our students actually being international students from all over the world. Um, Computing as a subject is incredibly practical, and we really try to embody that here in our teaching, where you'll spend a lot of your time actually within the labs working on actual problems. It's not uncommon that you would have, maybe 1 hour of lecture followed by, a 2 hour or 3 hour lab after the fact to kind of reinforce those ideas. And then one of our biggest draws for the program and for employability later on is our intra program, where students actually go on work placement and basically work as an intern in a company and apply their skills there. And generally then as well, that's kind of their first steps into the workforce, and it generally makes those students stand out on their CVs when they're actually applying for jobs at the end of their degree, owing to the fact that they actually have work experience in industry at that point. So within our degree program then, or within our degrees, there are three that we offer: computer science, computing for business, and then data science and AI. So it's important to know kind of which ones would be applicable to you and what careers would they let you do. Then as well, we just have strong industry connections across all of Ireland's tech ecosystems. We're one of the main hubs for research centres as well. We have a lot of industry engagement. So the degrees that we offer. First one is data science and AI. So this is CAO code DC123. So we'll talk about these in a little bit more detail, but data science and AI, it's a bit more technically focused. It's a bit more heavy on the maths, with the requirement being a minimum of a H3 in maths in the leaving cert. And for the points in 2025, it was 500 points. Then we have computing for business, and the idea of this course is that it's kind of a blend of business concepts like innovation and entrepreneurship and management, and then the applied computing side as well. The requirements for that then is a minimum of 04 or a H6 in maths, and in 2025 it says here it was 400 points. It was 400 points in the CAO in 2025. And then we have computer science, which is the CL code DC121. This is a very technical degree. It's a mix of software and there's some more mathematics in it as well. The requirements are a minimum of 04 or a H6 in mathematics, and the points are 487. Full disclosure, I am actually a graduate of the predecessor to the computer science course, which was computer applications a long time ago. So we can talk on that. So diving deep into data science and AI, what it's about, it's really looking at, you've heard now these days, I'm sure, of like ChatGPT and all of the other AIs that are coming out. This degree is heavily focused on them specifically kind of as a subject, and looks at how is AI being made, how is it predicting trends and shaping our future. In this program, then you learn how to kind of effectively build your own AI and be able to kind of convey complex information and complex topics and turn them into like actionable insights. So students would generally work on projects focused on like maybe injury prediction in athletes or building their own type of large language model. But this degree program covers all of these concepts and equips students with the skills then to kind of go and apply those to build any kind of artificial intelligence system that they want. Is definitely best for students who enjoy problem solving and who like looking at patterns in data and kind of applying logic, because there is a lot of there's a lot of the scientific method in building out these AIs and working through them. So students who generally like solving problems and little brain teasers and stuff like that, it's generally very well focused for them. Then we have computing for business. And the way this program is made is the idea is to blend the technical skill set with the business application. Okay, so the idea is not just that you have the strong background in computing, but then how do you actually apply that in the workforce? So how do I actually make a product, or how do I lead a team? Okay. So in this, then you get the background in computing and data and digital tooling, but it's more focused on industry. So how is that used then to kind of drive value in an organization? How is that used to like analyze data and insights and turn those into actionable items that can be used to further improve business processes or improve the organization as a whole? And this is great for students who kind of want to do a bit of both, right? So they enjoy the problem solving aspects of computing, but they really want the practical business focused background in innovation and entrepreneurship, and want to build solutions that people will use. So if you think like product development, building apps for other people to use and enjoy, computing for business is great for that. And then finally, we have our computer science degree. And the idea here is it's a general degree on computer science. So we look at everything to do with the computer. Right? So we start off talking about the hardware and what the computer is, and then touch everything from websites to apps to networks and internet and cloud and AI and everything else. So it's kind of a little bit of everything about the computer. Um, and there you're effectively in plain terms, you're learning how to program. You're learning how to program for different tools and capabilities, and you're learning how to basically create the next set of tools for the digital world. And this is great for students who really want to understand how complex systems work. So if you think of something like Instagram or TikTok, how does that work? How do they deliver videos to your phone? What's the entire process behind that? That's great for computer science. That is computer science 101. But then as well, we do find that AI is now becoming a big part of that. So we do have AI courses in the computer science degree. And this tool as well is great for emerging technologies. And what we get to see is our students in their final year programs, for example, in their final year project, they come up with really, really cool apps and really cool ideas, and then go off into the workplace and apply these new topics. So from these degrees, where would you possibly end up working? What are the careers for the different degrees? So in data science, you're applying analytics, pattern matching, prediction, and that can lead to a whole host of many careers in different organizations. Easy ones would be something like a fraud analyst working in a bank, looking at credit card transactions to try and identify which ones are fraudulent. Sports data analytics is a very emerging field in Ireland, but there's quite a large sports data analytics industry growing here. And sports data analysts generally work on things like what's the best training that a team should do? When do I predict someone would have recovered from an injury and be able to return to play? Um, or even just what is the best type of passing that I should do in a game? It is infinitely deep, and it's one that's close to my heart. It's where a lot of my research is applied. Um, you can also work then as a deep learning engineer. So this would be kind of working on, like building out computer vision algorithms, or even a simple examples would be if you think of those TikTok filters, for example. How are they made? How is it able to detect your face? A deep learning engineer had to create the code for it to do that. So that is exactly what a data science degree would let you do. Another big field that we have here is environmental data science. Um, Once again, this would be looking at things like how do we predict floods and where flooding could happen, and a lot of these global challenges that are going to become more and more imperative over the future years. Computing for business then is obviously focused a bit more on industry. Students there get a background in innovation and entrepreneurship. So it's not uncommon for them to actually kind of end up running their own startups, for example. They can end up working in virtualization technologies. They can work as business analysts in companies like the Big Four, for example, or enterprise application development as well. So this would be instead of maybe something like an individual phone application, if you think about something bigger like Outlook as an entire platform, or Microsoft Office, these would be your enterprise application developers. Then finally, you have a computer science degree. So this is kind of, once again, the more generalized degree. But from there, we have graduates who work now as game developers across some of the games that you may have heard of. We have people who work as ethical hackers. So you're paid to effectively kind of hack and break into systems to identify where the security flaws are. Software developer, obviously, it's a very general term in this because they could all be considered software development to some degree. But this is basically programming out apps and websites. And then as well, we have tech entrepreneurs here as well, where we have students even now who have taken their final year projects and are now converting them into startups. So where do our graduates actually work? Honestly, everywhere. Everywhere. If you think of any of the big tech companies, there is a DCU graduate or DCU graduates in them at the moment. Um, it's owing to the fact that our degrees are so industry focused, and our interplacement that allows them to actually get experience while doing the degree, and equips them to work everywhere. And we have, if you think of any of the large tech companies that are in Ireland at the moment, we have individuals that are working there. So, what are the career prospects then? So, in Ireland, anyway, it is one of the top tech hubs in Europe, owing to the fact that we're an English-speaking country. It's very easy for the American companies to come over here. We have a lot of large multinational companies in Ireland. Google, Microsoft, Meta, and TikTok. Anyone who's been around Grand Canal Dock can probably see the tech sector that's growing. Um, there is just an increasing demand for computing graduates. And there's a lot of emerging fields. Cybersecurity is becoming more and more important for companies, so they're looking for graduates in that. Students as well who have expertise in AI, cloud engineering, such as Microsoft and IBM, and then financial technologies and health technologies. There's actually a very big biomedical space in Ireland as well. And that would be kind of creating apps, maybe something like a smart pacemaker, for example. A lot of the roles then as well are very well paid and very future focused. They're looking towards building the next set of apps, the next set of AIs, and the tech skills are needed in every industry. So not just these multinationals, but there are tech roles in companies that are not exclusively tech companies. And that being said as well, our digital economy just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And with the degrees that we have here, we're quite satisfied that you'll be well placed in any one of these areas, owing to the industry experience that we have in developing our courses. but as well as that, the industry experience that you would actually get on the degree program as well. So if you were to, if you were to actually sign up, what does your first year in computing in DCU look like? So the key information, so I'll kind of rattle through this, and then I'll pass over to Shane to kind of give more on the ground experience from the student's perspective. But the key thing that we want to come across as lecturers is that you actually do effectively a shared first year where you all have to learn programming as a basis. So you develop the shared foundation regardless of the degree program on how to do programming, what does a programming language look like, how do you go about problem solving, what's the required mathematics that you need to actually write code and understand problem solving, and then just more kind of core computing concepts, things like how does the internet work because it's so pervasive. You do hands-on learning from week one. From week one, you're in the labs and you're writing your first bit of code. We start straight away. It's important at this point to say as well that we don't expect that students have completed a computer science and the leaving cert for any of our degrees. The courses are designed with the idea that you come in knowing nothing, apart from the idea that you might like computers. Um, And then as well, there's a big focus on then working on the transversal skills as well that would serve you either, within a tech-focused role or in other roles. Things like teamwork, collaboration, and communication, which funnily enough are actually very important for computing. It's rarely you sitting on your own writing code. There's a lot more collaboration involved. But that being said, then I'll actually pass it over to Shane to kind of give more of the student perspective on things.
So the student perspective, as Michael was saying, as soon as you walk in, you're instantly working on your weekly labs. You're starting off writing your first program, and you're learning the bare basics. And it starts at this like fun level where you just learn very, very basic, and then you learn to apply it in loads of different ways to solve different problems. And one of the biggest things is that once you come in, there's this big friendly first year cohort of everybody coming into computing, and generally everybody is struggling to learn the first basic skills, and then everybody helps each other out and helps each other get up to speed. And especially with like the teamwork, collaboration, communication, these skills start to get developed from like the second you walk into college. And everybody's all happy to be starting. Everybody's moved from secondary school. Everybody's going into the big bad college world, and everybody's just very friendly and eager to learn together. And everyone's learning the same things and want to help each other out. Um, and then it's like easy to find the strengths that you have. So if you're strong at mathematics, you'll figure that out in your first semester. Or if you're strong at coding, you're going to figure that out in your first semester. And if you're strong at the business applications, you're going to figure that out in your first semester. And that will kind of steer you towards what you want to focus on as part of your degree. And kind of then you can build with your friends and different friends with different interests, and you work on group projects together where everybody serves different roles. And first year is all about that collaboration and meeting new people, and you're pushed into group projects where you do have to make friends. And inevitably, everybody ends up with a group of friends at the end of first year. And everybody's very friendly around the college in general too.
Fantastic, thanks, Shane. I guess I'll add to that now. What I do find that I think it's easier for people to make friends in the computer science courses because you're not split up as much as you will be in other degree programs where it's kind of almost like this is your cohort and you have the classes together, and you don't generally get the same experience in say kind of like a BA double honors where your classes are spread out and you have to kind of make your own timetable. So at least when I was doing degree, it was the fact that it was the same people all the time, and it gave us a great chance to kind of get to know each other really well, and then yeah, and now I have friends for life effectively. Um, but yeah, and, and then as well, I guess we talked about like there's lots of different available supports. Um, like within the degree program itself, we have the tutorials, we have our academic advisors and peer mentors. So within the labs, for example, generally it would be someone like myself, the lecturer there as well. But then we would also have our lab tutors walking around, and these are, either teaching assistants of staff or students who are students who are more advanced in the degree program. So if in year one, your tutors could be from year two of the program, people who have done that course. But it's very easy to kind of get the help that you need. We also have a programming help desk as well that's there for longer sessions. I'll be quiet myself and I'll let Shane talk about the next point and his experience. Um, but I don't know, Shane, how did you find the staff, the faculty in DCU?
Yeah. So I actually found it to be extremely, extremely helpful. I thought that originally walking in that the labs were going to be everybody gets sent off to a lab machine, a computer in the labs, and is told to just figure it out. But that's couldn't be any more opposite of what it actually is. There's always people roaming around, and there's generally at least two people in a lab, and you're able to ask them questions, and everybody is kind of more experienced, and they're really good at explaining things, and helping you just even just giving you a hint to figure stuff out. And it's really like a supportive environment rather than what I thought it was going to be, where you're sent off to figure stuff out by yourself.
Good, good. And then as well, we have a pile of free academic support. We have the library available for students, and then as well, our doors are always open, and you could just ask us questions, and we're people too. Um, and then as well in DC, we do have a set of well-being supports as well. So we do actually have like a counseling service and a health center as well that students they're in place there for students to avail of, and there are supports for you, if you ever have the need for them during your degree program. Um, then more from the student perspective, we do have the Maths Learning Center. Um, so I don't think Shane, I don't think you would particularly, yeah, but this center is there that so maths is required understanding for computing. At the same time, it is by no means as intensive as a maths degree. However, the Maths Learning Center exists as a support that DCU offers to all students who are studying any kind of maths related modules, where students can go and avail of effectively free maths tutoring to help them with to help them with their assignments and their topics, and kind of understand key concepts and ideas within the school. I think I mentioned it a minute ago, but we also have the programming help desk as well, where there's dedicated support staff on hand, and you can go to them with individual problems, and they can help you work through it as well. Um, Overall, then I guess Shane, I'll ask you, it's easy to get help when you need it. I don't know. How did
Yeah,
you?
incredibly easy to get help when you need it. There's always someone there who you know will be able to answer your questions.
Yeah. And then as well, like there's a strong sense of community. So even amongst the students themselves, you tend to find that the cohort themselves, so the group of students, kind of views themselves as one group, and they're very open and helping themselves. So even outside of DCU, like generally the students set up their own kind of Discord servers to help each other with assignments and you know, news, and I'm sure talk about all of the how great lecturers we are and all of the things that they've covered that day. But it is a fantastic sense of community, and you would make friends for life in a course like this, because it is very, very nice and closely knit. Um, and yeah, and then there's Shane there about 3 weeks
Yeah,
ago. Shane, is that about right?
yeah.
Yes.
That was the
So
final year expo.
yes. So why did you pick the ECU, Shane, yourself?
Yeah, so I suppose I picked DCU, looking around, and I looked at UCD, I looked at Trinity, and I looked at TUD, and DCU just has a really strong reputation in computing. Like even people I would have known from kind of the computer science industry, as wide as that is, would have always said that DC people who come out of DCU tend to be strong candidates and strong graduates. Another thing that I'd always heard about DCU was that everybody was really friendly, and I did hold my doubts about that, until I walked in on my first day, and my mind on that was completely changed. It couldn't have been more of like an open atmosphere where you were able to just talk to anybody and everybody. And I suppose a big one then would be the intra placement. which is a paid work placement for 6 months that you do in third year. So you do 6 month work placement across the summer. And like people go into the huge tech giants to do this work placement, places like IBM, places like Meta everywhere. And I thought that was really interesting and something that would be really valuable to come out with as a graduate. And yeah, it really has been. I really enjoyed my intro experience. And then we also have like a really modern campus. So when I started off in DCU, the construction of the Polaris, which is the background of Michael Screen there,
Mm.
had just begun. And now we have this huge new shiny building, and the building is absolutely beautiful. And the seats in there are really nice. Um, and then the great supports as well. So like DCU has an on-campus doctor, there's an on-campus pharmacy, there's an on-campus shop. We have the students' union, and everything is really like close to each other. Um, so you only need to walk maybe 5 minutes across campus to get to anywhere you need. And there's so many different places to get coffee. It's fantastic. Um, and then I suppose on how did I find the transition? So moving from secondary school to college, very, very daunting task, and something I'm sure everybody watching is a bit anxious about. But what I can say about DCU is that it was fantastically easy to make friends. There's so many different ways, even walking around randomly and just talking to everybody on orientation day was really easy. Everybody's open and friendly. There's student societies like Red Brick. Red Brick would be the computer science focused society in the college. And I found that very helpful to make friends through. And the Students' Union runs events, and there's so many different ways and channels to make friends. Um, the lecturers were always really, really friendly, and something that I always thought would be scary was putting up my hand to ask a question in a lecture. And it actually really fell short of that because it was just like asking a question to any other person. But it's somebody who has so much knowledge and knows exactly what they're trying to teach you, and it's really, really helpful. And you really, really quickly just get into the rhythm of it. And as I said, the Red Brick Society was fantastic. I got involved on the committee. I've been on the committee of Red Brick for almost my entire college career. So definitely highly, highly recommend it. It's a great way to develop skills, learn about parts of computer science that might not be heavily covered on the course. Great way to make friends and a great way to just socialize and get everywhere along there.
And I guess I'd add in as well that like the Red Brick Society, then it's not uncommon at all that former students who would have been members of the society come back in very regularly to give talks about their own time working in industry and stuff like that. And these people at this point be quite senior in their positions, and it's great the connection that they have to the society, even so many years later, myself included. So, um, okay, so now I guess it's time for the Q&A. So I think there's a few questions coming in here now. So question here that says roughly how many spaces on each course. So the spaces do kind of change year on year in response to CAO, but in general, data science would have between 30 and 40 students per year. Computing for business would have a bit more, which would be around 80 students a year. And then computer science would be the most with between 120 to 150 per year. Um, and another question coming in here, will you help me get an intra placement? So yes, in short, yes. The intra the intra program isn't designed like okay, go off and find an internship. It's actually quite managed by DCU. There is an intra office that's centrally located in DCU whose job is to effectively kind of like field employers and kind of match them up. So what happens in the intra program is you'll be asked to create your CV, and there's a portal that you would upload it to, and we have a list of then approved employers who are looking for interns, and you would apply through that portal. Um, and so yes, we have a effectively like a Rolodex of employers that students would go to. Now, that being said, if a student has has somewhere that they really want to work themselves, they do have the option of making their own placement. And we'd have to obviously kind of do our checks and balances to make sure that it's a tech focused role that aligns with the degree, and that the student is gaining necessary skills in the field. But the majority of interplacements are managed by DCU. Um, so then, how good at maths do you have to be to do data science? So that is a good question. It is the most maths heavy. It is the most maths heavy course. You generally have to be pretty good at probability and statistics, because building AIs from the bottom up, it is heavy on the algebra. It's heavy on the algebra. It's heavy on the probability and statistics side. So in general, you would want to have some aptitude for mathematics in order to do it. You don't have to be, pulling a H1 or anything like that. But definitely an aptitude for maths. They would have more maths modules than the other degree programs. Absolutely. Um, so what are the benefits of these courses? So I guess for all the courses, first you get a background in programming, you get a background in problem solving, you get a background in kind of working with a team and collaboration and project management. Um, but then within the individual courses, like for data science, you really get down to like how does an AI work? How do I make my own? And like I find that myself as an AI researcher very, very interesting. And and as well, it gives you the ability to kind of interpret and understand data, um, which sounds okay enough, but it is quite an underrepresented skill in the workplace, and being able to kind of think analytically and proving things systematically. For computing and business, then the benefit is that it's directly kind of business focused, so that you actually come out with not just a technical skill set, but kind of the ability to kind of directly kind of apply them in an industry workplace, because you also have the background of management and business processes as well. And then computer science, the benefit is that it's kind of more general in that it gives you a sufficient grounding that you can kind of go into whatever you want after that. Some of our graduates go into web design, some go into game development, some want to do mobile app development. The nice thing about the computer science course is that it gives you the grounding where you can kind of take that experience and all those learnings and then go forward and kind of really specialize in what you'd like to do. How do end of year term exams work? Would it be mostly project based or theory or coding? So that's a question of it really depends on the module itself. Um, so obviously for the programming exams, your exam is going to be program, write some code. But then for something like one of the maths courses, the exam's probably more like a standard maths exam as you think about, where there's a sheet of questions and you solve the problems. Um, there for other modules, then there are practical elements in most degree programs. In most degree modules, your grade is generally split across two parts, where you would have like a continuous assessment component and then an exam-based component as well. So it's not that you do one or the other. In general, the cases you often end up doing both within a single module. Um, and the split then varies between the module, but that's by design because they try to get a mix between the applied theory, so what you would do in the labs and the projects, but then sorry, the applied part, but then also the theory part as evidence through an exam. In general, there's not as many written exams as there are in other courses. A lot of our tech exams are basically just in the labs here, writing code for the exams. Um, do you think the job opportunities these degrees offer are likely to be taken by AI in a few years? Yeah, that's the question that everybody's asking. Um, to be honest, not really. I think at the moment there is a shock in the market, but what we can kind of see from industry and even our is that like AI is a force multiplier, but it's not actually a replacement for a human. So it would make me work more effectively, but it can't really recreate code to a production level that a human would have. So we are expecting a bounce back in the market. And even if the fields are not as directly applicable, there's more emerging fields now, like the push, for example, towards cybersecurity, which is one where AI seems to be okay with finding issues in code, but is quite okay with writing code that has a lot of issues in it in the first place. Um, there's always new and evolving roles. So even in my time in computers now, certain roles don't exist anymore, and new roles have come up in their place because there's always the need for kind of the analytical thinker and the understanding of how computers work. So we do anticipate, a bounce back in the market, and the role will be kind of more focused on, well, how do you work with an AI rather than the AI being a replacement, if that makes sense. Um, I don't know, Shane, do you have any perspectives on any of those? Like, how did you find the intro process yourself, actually?
Yeah, the intro process I found like very helpful. It's I suppose more directly on how it actually works is you sign into a portal and there's just a bunch of job listings that you can then apply for, and these jobs are specifically for DCU students going on their intro placement, and that's all set up by the intro office for you. And like I would say about 90% of people get their placement through that portal. Then there's that very small subset that might go off and find like a unique internship, generally international students who want to move back to their home country to and can do their placement from there, and other stuff like that. But the intro portal is massively helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wonderful, wonderful. And then I guess the same question I'd ask about the exams. I don't know, what did you find yourself? Was it like more theory, more coding, or just a nice mix between the two? Or
It's generally a fairly even mix between everything like theory, coding based, and even between like practical lab exams, and then on paper exams, and then projects that have to be handed in. It's generally a very healthy combo, and you usually won't have more than maybe 3 or 4 exams a semester, and even 3 or 4 is quite high. So you have this nice blend where you can do a lot of continuous assessment and then also have like a decent amount of exams at the end.
mm, okay, wonderful. So, um, I guess I guess we're done then. I don't see any more questions coming in. So we must have done fantastic, and we'll see them all in September. Um, okay, so perfect. Thank you all so much for attending. Thank you, Shane, as well for agreeing to jump on this webinar. Um, okay, so I will stop my share there now, and yeah.